Welcome to the Morning Formation. This episode is powered by Act Now Education. Warriors, fall in. It's time for formation. Today we're going to be talking about something that's been steering within the military influencer community. Recently, controversy has come up around a group called Parade Deck. Now, I want to be upfront and tell you that I don't know much about Parade Deck. I haven't even dug into what they're about. What I do know is that they are an organization that has managed to get a bunch of different influencers and podcasters under their flag. And I also want to be clear that I'm not here to throw names around or point fingers. But what I do want to talk about is what we do know, what's been brought publicly forward to us, and what it means for us as a community of veterans, service members, and storytellers. This isn't about one platform or one organization. It's about a bigger lesson on who we choose to align ourselves with and how we define legitimacy and how we stay true to values that really matter. The substance of all this and the things that we publicly understand or know is that Parade Deck is a platform that's gathered, like I said, dozens of military podcasters and influencers. And lately it's come under heavy criticism. Allegations have surfaced, partnerships have been dissolved, and questions about transparency and leadership have been raised. None of us have the full picture, and many of these points remain allegations. So I'm not here to judge or convict, only to acknowledge that these conversations are happening. Now, this is why my podcast, the Morning Formation podcast, the last 3 or 4 years, I've chosen to stay independent and not align with any of these other organizations. Because to me, there has to be a special chemistry. There has to be something that I feel is right. The only organization that I've aligned myself with, and I'm actually a board member for, is Act Now Education. And the reason that is because I've talked to the founder, Jay Salters. I've talked to the board. I know all the major volunteers really well. Some of us have met in person, and our values align really well. We've done multiple projects together, gotten things done, and Jay just runs a really solid, honest, authentic nonprofit organization. That's the only organization that I've ever aligned my podcast with. And at the beginning of all my shows, I make sure that I advertise Act Now Education because I believe in the fight. I believe in the mission. Personally, I've avoided joining platforms like Parade Deck over the years, which I was asked a few years ago if I'd be interested. Part of that comes down to sensing values that don't quite align. I've chosen to not participate in military podcast awards. Why? I did 1 year when I first started, and I really felt like these awards were more like good old boy clubs. They weren't true recognition of meaningful impact. And that's just my opinion. Now, if you've won one of these awards, congratulations to you. I don't really feel like it's a honest measurement. The first year I did it, I did not get a good impression. And since then, I just have never shown any interest, nor do I have any plans to be interested in the future or anything like that. To me, it often feels like it's a way to look important rather to be important or meaningful. The bigger issue within is community versus business. Now, in person, I've noticed that some military influencers and podcasters aren't necessarily about the community. They're about themselves. And at times it feels like they're more focused on personal brand, clout, or business opportunities over community. That's not to say ambition is bad, but when the mission shifts away from serving others, the authenticity gets lost. And on this show, I've done my best to find people that I feel like are great representatives of our community. There's been folks that I have said no to who have wanted to be interviewed. And then there's folks I just haven't gotten back to because this is just my side thing that I do. And as someone who has always tried to put community first, I'll admit I felt like an outsider whenever I do go into those circles, those types of platforms that want you to join their big group. So I just refuse to do it. And I refuse to join any type of podcast award show, period. I do think that conventions like the Military Influencer Conference is awesome, the MIC. I think it's a great way to get an opportunity to meet some of the folks that you meet virtually. I have had a great time going to those. And I think that that's just something that I wanted to mention today about why I stand where I stand and I haven't moved to go under anyone else. Social media, a lot of that is an issue too. It's a love-hate relationship, really. And honestly, I think the world has grown tired of seeing social media influencers showing off materialism, flexing cars, houses, or the cool muscle guy lifestyle. From my experience, some of the biggest badasses, the true heroes who have done things that would humble half of today's influencers, don't even have a social media account. Meanwhile, some of the loudest voices in the room, the type where I wear my sunglasses inside types, I think that they've already plateaued in 2025. A lot of folks have kind of dropped off from what I've noticed. The plateau is really symbolic. It's a reminder that if you program your life around being impressive instead of being of service, you eventually stall out. And as I always say, a life of service is a life worth living. It's not about me, it's about God and country. Living a life of service rather than a life of impressing others creates meaning, longevity, and true respect. I think the lesson in all this is to know your circle. That's key. And I think the takeaway is we can't always know the difference. We can't always know the affiliations of every group, especially when platforms gather dozens and dozens of podcasts under one umbrella. And many times these podcasts, they're hodgepodge. They're not really, they cover a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't know if they even screen the people that are behind the mics. Anybody. The one thing that I've learned doing podcasting is that anybody can go to Best Buy and purchase a mic and run a podcast for virtually free. That's easy. So to know everyone and to understand the values of everyone from the top down in one of those giant circles that it seems so many other influencers and podcasters love to affiliate with, it's impossible for you to know your own circle. So who do you stand with? Who shares your values? Who do you know without question is in it for the right reasons? Those are all the things that you really need to ask yourself when you're building a brand, you're building a business, you're building a community. Those are the people worth building with. Those are the voices worth amplifying. Because at the end of the day, legitimacy doesn't come from an award, a title, or a flashy networking. Legitimacy comes from service, integrity, and impact in your reputation. So I just wanted to talk about it briefly. Like I said, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not saying that I know anything. I don't even know half the people that were involved in that. It just seemed to be a big fallout that just happened over last weekend. And before I close out, I want to give a shout out to Act Now Education, the nonprofit that I'm a board member for, because I've proudly been a part of them for years now. The Act Now Education team, they continue to serve the military community with selfless dedication. The guy that runs it, I mean, truly, his heart is in the right place. And all the board members are motivated to really make a difference. And I think I want to take this time too to recognize some of the social media influencers and podcasters who, in my eyes, are truly in this for the right reasons. And some of you have been with me for 3 years now. And I know I'm going to miss people on my little list here, but I want to make sure that I acknowledge some of you out there. And I know there's more. so don't get offended if you're not on here. But I want to start out with Althea for She Vets It. I've literally met her multiple times. Heart of gold, really cares about what she's doing down there and living down there in Texas, right? She truly understands what help really means. And Jenna from the millennial veteran, Michelle Lang from Rural Salute, Scott from Drive On Podcast, JP, the veteran coach. My more recent ones like Sergeant First Class Alexander Stewart, Yasmin, she's a military spouse running Trend Lab. And then some of the folks out there that I've talked to, but I haven't had an opportunity to collab with, like Tracer Burnout. They seem like a couple of great guys. And beyond that, I want to also acknowledge folks that I've connected with and I trust. Start off with talking with Tyrone Hewitt. He's one of the board members for ACNO Education. Mario, another one. Dr. Nicole Donraj, another valuable volunteer for ACNO Education, has been part of ACNO Education for years. And her son, Avi, as well. He is a military dependent. Dr. Nicole Donraj had served in the Army. Avi has been a great character for us to utilize whenever we have these huge projects within ACNO Education. And then some other folks that I've also interviewed as well that I find has their heart in the right place. And I'll talk about V. Morgan. She's an Army veteran and leader with Home of Record Project. They seem like a great organization as well. Rob Martinez from All Clear Gear. He's just a good old boy trying to make it down there near Camp Pendleton with his business. And that guy is a true hustler, man. And his heart is seriously in the right place, in the right community. Samaya Gibril, I've interviewed her twice now. Started out, interviewed her for talking about the results of an ACNO Education project that she was a part of and she saw success in. And just recently, Corey Rasidlo from The Last Dram Standing. And then Jamal Edwards. He's a firefighter, Air Force veteran, entrepreneur, totally in the sports. She's got some great content out there, great material. These are the people who represent authenticity, service, and they represent heart. And you know, I'm actually leaving a few others off this list, but if you know me, you know I value you as well. You know who you are. All right. I just went down my list real quick and just jotted those down. So, as we process everything that's happened with Parade Deck and the wider military podcast base, let's remember it's not about clout. It's not about community. It's not about being seen. It's about being of service. The loudest voices, the flashiest lifestyles, they might grab your attention. They might have great editing, but service is what creates legacy. And Formation Nation, always be mindful of your affiliations. Make sure you guard your circles. Understand that your circles don't have to be gigantic. Your circles can be small. It's probably better that way. Keep things close and tight to you. And don't confuse looking important with being important. That's a big one. That's my message for today. Until next time, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out.